Basics of Horoscope Interpretations, Part 9. Planetary Strength Factors in Action, Case-Based Illustrations. Jupiter in the 5th house in Leo may suggest blessings of children, education, or spiritual merit. However, if it's combust by the sun in Shuddhita Avastha and has Shadbala below 0.9 rupas, the outcomes may include intellectual burnout, creative stagnation, or struggles with progeny, even if house lordship and sign appear strong. Mars in the 10th in Capricorn receives exaltation, full Digbala, and aligns with its Karakatva for action and authority. If it also receives benefic Digbala and sits in Mudita Avastha, this placement can produce leadership, precision, and high public responsibility. If afflicted by Rahu or placed in a debilitated D10, results may turn toward aggression, unethical ambition, or occupational volatility. Mercury exalted in Virgo in the 1st house for Virgo Lagna may seem ideal for speech and intellect. But if combust and in Kopa Avastha with Navamsa debilitation in Pisces, it may show as overthinking, social anxiety, or intellectual insecurity, despite exaltation in the Rashi chart. Moon in Taurus in the 11th suggests social ease and strong emotional networks. If waning in Dina Avastha and aspected by Saturn from the 5th, it may signal isolation within groups, emotional dependence on validation, or disconnection from gains. Even exaltation can underperform if Avastha and aspect conditions are poor. Venus debilitated in Virgo in the 10th may appear unfavorable, but if Venus is Vargottama, placed in Pisces Navamsa, exaltation, and forms a Nichabanga with strong Mercury in Virgo, this can produce artistic success, refined public image, and eventual relationship stability, especially during Venus Dasha. Saturn in the 6th house in Aquarius, its own sign, gains positional dignity, full Digbala, and often operates in Shanta or Mudita Avastha. This placement can lead to triumph over competitors, karmic endurance, and service-oriented authority, especially if supported by a strong Mars or 10th Lord. Rahu in the 10th in Gemini often points to fame or unconventional success. If it's in Kopa Avastha, conjunct debilitated Mercury, and lacks Vargabala support in D10, it can result in ambition without clarity, frequent job hopping, or a restless hunger for validation through work. Jupiter in the 7th in a female chart as the Karaka for husband may seem auspicious. If combust, debilitated in Capricorn, and in Dina Avastha, it can result in delayed marriage, mismatched values in partnership, or excessive compromise in spousal roles, despite house placement. Strength factors determine whether planetary yogas actualize or remain dormant. A planet may hold exaltation, own powerful houses, and form yogas, but if it lacks Shadbala, Vargabala, or is placed in damaging avasthas, its influence is weakened. Conversely, a debilitated or seemingly weak planet with compensatory strength can deliver elevated results through timing and placement. Basics of Horoscope Interpretations, Part 10. How Malefics can become benefics, the transformative role of context, strength, and placement. Mars, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, traditionally labeled as malefics, do not always harm the chart. Through a synergy of functional benefic roles, directional strength, exaltation, yoga karaka status, and upachaya placement, they often become the very source of stability, achievement, and spiritual evolution in a native's life. Their so-called malefic nature often reflects intensity and karmic weight, not negativity per se. When supported by strength factors and favorable alignment, malefics can outperform even natural benefics. Mars for Cancer ascendant is a yoga karaka, ruling the 5th and 10th houses. Though naturally malefic, Mars in the 10th house in Capricorn, its exaltation sign, with full Digbala and Mudita Avastha becomes a powerhouse of disciplined ambition, respected leadership, and career endurance. During its dasha, such a Mars can elevate status, establish legacy, and overcome professional adversity, completely reversing its textbook malefic reputation. Saturn for Libra ascendant rules the 4th and 5th houses, becoming both a Kendra and Trikona lord, thus a functional benefic. If placed in the 11th house in Leo, aspected by Jupiter, and with high Shadbala, it brings fulfillment of desires through steady effort, structured thinking, and maturity. The same Saturn, if in Shanta Avastha, supports emotional composure, wealth accumulation, and harmonious relationships with elders or teachers. Rahu in the 3rd, 6th, or 10th house tends to perform well due to these being upachaya houses, which favor malefics. Rahu in the 10th in Gemini, forming a Raja Yoga with Mercury, often makes for a media-savvy, bold, and unconventional career builder, particularly in tech, politics, or digital platforms. If Rahu has strong Digbala and is Vargottama, it supports calculated risks, mass influence, and transformation through status-seeking actions. Ketu, when placed in the 12th, 3rd, or 9th house, can reflect detachment from lower desires and intuitive spiritual growth. Ketu in the 12th in Pisces or Sagittarius can create mystics, healers, or globally oriented thinkers. If conjoined Jupiter or placed in a strong D9 chart in its own or friendly Navamsa, it brings wisdom through loss, solitude, and non-material paths. In female charts, Ketu in the 9th may indicate a karmic father figure who awakens philosophical maturity early in life. Mars in the 6th house, especially in Aries, Scorpio, or Capricorn, supports overcoming enemies, success in competitions, and powerful work ethic. This Mars, though aggressive, serves the chart by giving resilience and drive. If placed in Deepta Avastha and receiving directional or aspectual strength from a Yoga Karaka like Venus or Jupiter, it empowers the native to thrive in high-pressure environments. Saturn in the 3rd house often grants discipline in communication, persistence in skill building, and lifelong loyalty in sibling bonds. For Gemini or Virgo Lagna, such Saturn in Aquarius or Capricorn may give a mature voice, fearlessness under pressure, and long-term mastery of writing or teaching. If it holds Mudita or Shanta Avastha and ranks high in Shadbala, it enhances personal authority and stoic self-control. Rahu conjunct Venus in the 11th house in Taurus may enhance charisma, mass appeal, and gains through luxury industries, fashion, or entertainment. Though Rahu is considered deceptive, in Venus's domain, with functional benefic placement and support from Mercury or Moon, it may act as a magnetic force for popularity and profit. If Venus is also exalted or Vargottama, this combination becomes highly productive in social or creative networks. Ketu conjunct Mercury in the 5th house may create brilliance in coding, logic, metaphysics, or psychology, especially in signs like Virgo or Scorpio. If Mercury is exalted and aspected by Jupiter, Ketu refines intellectual detachment, helping the native become objective, perceptive, and mentally sharp. This placement may also bless intuitive intelligence, especially in spiritual or academic fields. These transformations depend not only on house or sign, but on functional roles, ascendant-specific, strength metrics, Shadbala, Avastha, Digbala, and the karmic zones, Upachaya, Mokshabhavas, or Trikonas. The Malefics occupy. When aligned with supportive dashas and transit conditions, these gras no longer obstruct. They become the core machinery of karmic fulfillment. Basics of Horoscope Interpretations, Part 11. When malefics in conjunction become benefic, transformative pairings and functional role shifts. Malefics in conjunction are traditionally seen as amplifiers of karmic tension, but under the right astrological conditions, they're pairing with other planets. Benefics, functional benefics, or other malefics can create breakthroughs, elevated yogas, or necessary life catalysts. Conjunctions are zones of planetary fusion, where gras share karmic agendas, intensifying or mutating one another's significations. Whether the result is destructive or alchemical depends on dignity, functional role, avastha, house ownership, and aspectual support. Saturn plus Mars in the 10th house in Capricorn for a Libra ascendant can generate intense ambition and formidable career rise, especially if both are in Mudita Avastha and Saturn is Yoga Karaka. While this pair often creates internal friction and external resistance, in an Upachaya house and exalted sign, it converts into slow burn success, the ability to fight through adversity and establish lasting authority in one's profession. Their mutual natural malefic status helps them tolerate one another's intensity if functional benefic status supports it. Mars Rahu in the 3rd house in Aries for a Gemini ascendant, with Mars as 11th lord, and Rahu in an Upachaya house, can yield courageous expression, viral communication skills, and a fierce willpower. Though volatile, when well supported by Mercury or Jupiter and with strong Digbala, this conjunction becomes entrepreneurial, digitally fearless, and tactically brilliant. However, without benefic drishti or if combust, it may lead to recklessness, violent speech, or power struggles with siblings. Rahu Venus in the 11th house in Taurus can act as a yoga for immense social reach, wealth through beauty or media, and unconventional romantic magnetism. Rahu expands Venus's desires, and if Venus is strong in Shadbala and Vargottama and Navamsa, this conjunction supports success in fashion, digital art, diplomacy, or influencer platforms. The same pairing in the 7th house in Virgo, however, without support, may result in dysfunctional partnerships or superficial connections unless corrected by Jupiterian aspect or dasha alignment. Ketu plus Jupiter in the 9th house in Pisces can create a dharmic mystic or detached scholar. Jupiter, as lord of the 9th and 12th, is at home. Ketu, in Moksha Bhava, sheds attachment to material forms of belief and invites inner expansion. If Jupiter is in Avastha and both planets are strong in D9, this can yield a spiritual teacher, renunciate, or someone with profound intuitive insight. However, if Jupiter is weak or combust, this conjunction may indicate blind faith or philosophical disillusionment. Saturn plus Moon in the 4th house, Vish Yoga, typically represents emotional coldness, maternal distance, or inner burden. But if this occurs in Libra or Taurus, and both grahas are in Shanta Avastha, with Saturn as a functional benefic, e.g. for Taurus Lagna, the combination may manifest as emotional discipline, structured domestic life, and resilience through responsibility. In mature souls, this pairing can lead to social work, caregiving professions, or early hardship that produces later serenity. Mars plus Mercury in the 6th house in Scorpio for Leo ascendant, where Mars is 4th and 9th lord, can lead to strategic problem solving, sharp intelligence, and the power to defeat adversaries using words or systems. Mercury lends flexibility and Mars offers force. When both are strong and supported by Jupiter's aspect or dasha alignment, this duo supports roles in litigation, medicine, or military tech domains. If Mercury is combust and Mars is in Avastha, however, the mind becomes combative, sarcastic, and injury-prone. Saturn plus Ketu in the 8th house in Aquarius may seem fearsome, but can create a powerful seeker of hidden truths. If Saturn is the Lagna lord, for Aquarius rising, and both planets are unafflicted, the person may develop control over occult sciences, crisis management, or esoteric healing. In isolation or without benefic support, this can reflect depression, detachment from intimacy, or inherited trauma. Supported by exalted moon or Venus in Trichonas, it becomes transformative rather than oppressive. Sun plus Rahu, Gran Yoga, in the 1st house usually results in identity distortion, ego inflation, or rebellion against authority. However, in Leo or Aries with strong Jupiter aspect, this combination can produce charismatic leaders, revolutionary thinkers, or individuals with an intense presence. In the charts of tech moguls and political disruptors, this yoga appears as a marker of iconoclastic influence when backed by high Shadbala and Yoga Karaka support. Mars Ketu in the 12th in Scorpio may indicate intense inner fire, martial spiritual practices, and sharp karmic memory. Often seen in yogis, ascetics, or those with powerful subconscious forces, this pairing becomes an engine for moksha-driven self-mastery, if Jupiter is in the 9th or Venus supports from the 4th. Left unchecked, it may lead to hidden anger, self-harm, or psychic burnout, especially during Mars or Ketu dasha. Malefic conjunctions become benefic when they align with Upachaya houses, 3, 6, 10, 11, Yoga Karaka status, or Kendra Trikona lords, dignity in sign or Navamsa, Vargottama, exalted, own sign. Strong avasthas like Mudita or Shanta, aspectual protection from Jupiter, Venus, or the moon. These conjunctions, when properly supported, don't merely neutralize harm. They become the engine for karma yoga, professional resilience, or transformative spiritual development. In the next part, we'll examine how these combinations activate under dasha systems and why timing is the final piece in turning potential into result. Basics of Horoscope Interpretations, Part 12. How benefics can behave like malefics, the hidden shadows of grace. Benefics like Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and the moon are often assumed to bring ease, protection, and harmony. Yet, in certain placements, houses, and combinations, these natural benefics become functionally malefic or produce unintended consequences, particularly when they rule or occupy dasthanas, 6th, 8th, 12th, are combust, afflicted, or caught in conjunctions with malefics or functional enemies. Their excess passivity or misplaced optimism may enable stagnation, indulgence, or vulnerability to exploitation, revealing that no planet, however gentle, is universally auspicious. Jupiter for Libra ascendant rules the 3rd and 6th houses, both upachaya but also houses of conflict, effort, and obstacles. Even though Jupiter is naturally benefic, functionally it becomes a challenger. If placed in the 8th house in Taurus, Jupiter may foster idealism that collapses under pressure, conflicts with siblings, or karmic debts through teachers or overgenerosity. If combust and in Dina Avastha, its dasha may bring false hope, lawsuits, or spiritual bypassing rather than true insight. Venus in the 3rd house in Virgo, its sign of debilitation, often results in strained sibling relationships, unfulfilled desires, or excessive comparison. For Sagittarius ascendant, Venus rules the 6th and 11th, making it a functional malefic. In the 3rd, it may lead to indulgent speech, misguided flirtations, or vanity disguised as diplomacy. During Venus Dasha, such a placement may trigger betrayal in friendships or financial loss via social circles or creative partnerships. Mercury for Scorpio ascendant rules the 8th houses, making it a functional malefic despite its natural benefic status. If placed in the 5th house in Pisces, its debilitation sign, and combust, Mercury may produce intellectual confusion, poor financial planning, or erratic relationship with children. Even when exalted, if Mercury is hemmed between malefics or afflicted by Rahu, it can manifest as cunning communication, opportunistic thinking, or neurotic overanalysis. Moon in the 6th house, particularly when waning and aspected by Saturn or Rahu, can manifest as emotional dependency, digestive weakness, and chronic anxiety. For Capricorn ascendant, where the moon is 7th lord, its placement in the 6th may result in toxic partnerships, emotional debt, or recurring interpersonal conflict. A combust or afflicted moon, even in Taurus, can make one emotionally overinvested in adversarial situations or caretaking roles that breed resentment. Venus in the 12th house for Virgo or Sagittarius ascendants often brings hidden romantic entanglements, financial leaks, or aesthetic distractions that erode spiritual energy. If in Scorpio, combust, or conjunct Ketu, Venus may become a source of silent suffering, escapism, or relational delusion. Even with exaltation in Pisces, if the 12th house is afflicted, the native may indulge in fantasy, addiction, or excessive sensuality under the guise of spiritual longing. Jupiter in the 3rd house can sometimes undermine the very courage it is expected to inspire. For Cancer or Leo ascendants, where Jupiter may be a functional benefic, its presence in the 3rd in Capricorn, debilitation, can make one overdependent on advisors, hesitant in action, or too philosophically abstract to act decisively. If Jupiter is in Dina or Kshudita Avastha and receives no support from Mars or Mercury, its wisdom may become passive idealism that stalls execution. Mercury combust in the 4th house, especially in Leo or Scorpio, can manifest as hyper-rational thinking that suppresses emotional intelligence or disconnects one from domestic peace. For Pisces ascendant, Mercury is a Maraka, ruling 7th and 4th, and can give disturbances in home, vehicles, or emotional grounding, particularly if it's retrograde or with Ketu. Such Mercury may produce surface charm with inner instability, especially during Mercury Dasha or transits. Moon in the 8th house, especially in Scorpio or with Ketu, may bring psychic hypersensitivity, emotional volatility, and recurring crises. Even though Moon is a benefic, here it becomes unstable, absorbing ancestral karma or emotional trauma. For Gemini ascendant, this Moon as 2nd lord may trigger family discord, speech imbalance, or food-related issues, especially if aspected by Mars or Rahu. Venus ruling the 3rd and 8th for Sagittarius ascendant becomes a double Dusthana lord. Even in exaltation in Pisces, placed in the 4th, it may still disturb emotional peace, lead to subtle sensual escapism, or bring intimacy issues hidden behind charm. During Venus Dasha, themes of betrayal, secret desires, or subtle imbalances in partnerships may emerge, even when Venus seems dignified. Jupiter combust in the 12th house, even in friendly signs, may promote dogmatic escapism, poor boundary setting in charity or spirituality, and blind trust in gurus or belief systems. For Virgo or Pisces ascendants, Jupiter as 4th and 7th or 1st and 10th lord respectively becomes significant, But when combust and weak in Shadbala, its karaka for wisdom is obscured. The result may be spiritual confusion, loss of property, or guru-related disappointment. These placements reveal that benefics, when functionally malefic, ruling 6, 8, 12, placed in dasthanas without strength or support, combust, retrograde, or in afflicted avasthas, conjunct or hemmed by malefics, weak in divisional charts, especially D9 and D12, can disguise karmic challenges as blessings, resulting in delay, confusion, indulgence, or moral bypassing. These lessons remind us that in Jyotish, no planet is always benefic or malefic. Only context, strength, and karma determine expression. Basics of Horoscope Interpretations, Part. When benefic conjunctions behave malefically, undermining through excess, passivity, or hidden tension. Even when two natural benefics join in a chart, like Jupiter-Venus or Moon plus Mercury, their conjunction doesn't automatically guarantee auspicious results. In fact, in certain signs, houses, or avasthas, benefic pairings can result in overindulgence, emotional confusion, weak boundaries, or karmic attachment. Especially when these conjunctions occur in dasthanas, in affliction, or involve functional malefics, the outcomes can become subtly destabilizing. Jupiter plus Venus in the 12th house in Pisces, though appearing spiritual and exalted, may lead to excessive indulgence in fantasy, escapism through relationships, or idealism in love. For Virgo ascendant, where Jupiter is 4th and 7th lord, and Venus rules the 2nd and 9th, this pairing can bring financial leakages, karmic romantic entanglements, or a tendency to substitute spiritual discipline with sensual pleasure. If both are combust or in Shayana or Dina Avastha, their positive intentions may remain unfulfilled. Moon plus Mercury in the 6th house in Scorpio may create emotional reactivity, anxious thinking, and internal conflict, especially if Mercury is debilitated or retrograde. Despite being two benefics, this pair may amplify nervous agitation, passive-aggressive speech, or hypersensitivity to criticism. If Saturn aspects this conjunction, it can manifest as mental exhaustion, digestive issues, or inability to resolve workplace stress. Jupiter plus Moon, Gaja Kesari Yoga, while generally positive, can become problematic when in the 8th house, particularly in Leo or Aquarius, without support. The native may develop a spiritual ego, emotional dependence on belief systems, or false emotional security through philosophical narratives. If the moon is waning and Jupiter is in Shuddhita Avastha, the yoga may lead to internal fragmentation, emotional over-idealization, or detachment from real-world duties. Venus-Moon in the 3rd house in Gemini may seem charming, but can result in superficial emotionality, seductive speech, or emotional dependency masked as friendship. For Scorpio ascendant, this pair rules the 7th and 9th houses, yet in the 3rd may generate issues with female siblings, repetitive relational patterns, or romantic escapism. When combust or aspected by Mars or Rahu, it may manifest as passive manipulation or emotional inconsistency. Jupiter's Mercury in the 7th house in Virgo, Mercury's exaltation, Jupiter's debilitation, can cause conflicts between logic and belief, or between intellectualism and trust. For Pisces ascendant, this may create marital tension due to overanalysis or philosophical incompatibility. If Mercury dominates due to exaltation and Jupiter is combust or in Kopa Avastha, the native may rely too much on rational frameworks, rejecting intuition or softness in relationships. Venus plus Mercury in the 8th house in Libra may seem harmonized, but often results in charm-masking psychological entanglements, particularly in romantic or financial affairs. For Taurus ascendant, even though both are functional benefics, the 8th house can dilute values, create hidden liaisons, or lead to avoidance of emotional depth. The native may be skilled in diplomacy, but use it to avoid transformation. Moon plus Jupiter Venus in the 11th house in Taurus can appear like a wealth-giving yoga, but when all three benefics cluster together, particularly without malefic anchoring, the native may become emotionally dependent on external validation, hedonistic in social circles, or excessively idealistic. If any one of the planets is in Dina or Kshuddhita Avastha, or afflicted by Rahu, the conjunction may generate loss through social naivety or overtrust in friends. Mercury-Venus in the 5th house in Pisces, Venus exalted, Mercury debilitated. can result in artistic brilliance but unstable intellect, especially in early love affairs. If Jupiter does not support and Mercury is combust, the person may misinterpret affection, idealize unworthy partners, or lack discernment in emotional investments. Jupiter's Mercury's moon in the 6th house in Sagittarius for Cancer ascendant may seem balanced, but this trine of benefics in Avastha can result in self-righteous moral conflict, preaching over listening, or an inability to handle criticism constructively. If Saturn aspects and moon is waning, the native may develop guilt complexes around service or experience imbalances in the workplace from emotional reactivity. Venus plus Jupiter in the 2nd house for Leo ascendant, especially in Virgo, Venus debilitation, Jupiter enemy sign, may generate sweet speech masking self-serving motivations, or problems in marriage due to philosophical routine mismatches. If both are combust and lack support from Moon or Mercury, the conjunction may foster inherited value confusion or unfulfilled artistic ambitions. Benefic conjunctions may turn malefic when they occur in Dastana houses 6, 8, 12. One planet is exalted and the other debilitated or combust. They oppose house function, i.e. rule Maraka or Dastana houses. They are afflicted by Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, or hemmed between malefics. They are too soft to handle karmic environments, e.g. 6th or 10th house struggles. They reinforce passivity or emotional indulgence rather than discernment. Benefics without power or responsibility may fail the native just as malefics without maturity can destabilize. Their blessings must be contextualized, tempered, and tested within the karmic environment of the chart. In the next part, we'll begin to merge all interpretive elements, nature, function, strength, yoga, conjunction, to demonstrate full planetary profiling in sample charts,